Hello everyone and welcome today. Hope everything works well. Marta will give me in a second some information, some insights, if she can hear us. And I will double check that too. Hey Marta, how are you today? So very good, very good. How do you like the music? Can you hear it? Or is it too loud? Is it too silent? Make it maybe a bit louder, so. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. My coffee is empty. That's very bad. But yeah, let's start with our episode today. So what I would like to achieve today is I want to take a look into the GitHub repository project of Flutter because I wanted always to contribute and I had never the chance to it, or I was always too intimidated to start with developing in Flutter itself. The one time when I tried it, it was like a huge project. It is like a full project that you find in very big companies usually. So get ready to have some problems there if we start off. And there is a lot of documentation that we read. But what I actually want to do is I want to first start off by just jumping into the different tabs of an open source project like Flutter, taking a look what we can do actually, and then just check out what we should achieve here. Okay, all right, so let's get into it. I swap quickly the... Hey, Hüseyinov, hope you are well. Ready for today. Howdy Tom, nice to see you. How are you? All right, so I don't know if you got the introduction, but I want to take a look into the GitHub repository of Flutter with you. And I just want to start off by just taking an overall look, well, how it looks like, what we can do in that project actually. And because Flutter is a full-fledged project, like in all the big companies, we have to read a lot of documentation. And also this, I would like to give like a guideline what you can do in the first place to get started in Flutter. Because for contribution into an open source project, there is more to it than just writing code, right? So contribution to an open source project means usually to write issues, to improve the documentation, to get more information about the project. I hope the music is okay, if I can make that also more silent. And if you have a music wish, I can also try to find one. And if you want to skip that, just say skip in the chat and I will skip the song. Hey Kaitero, nice to see you. How are you? All right. So what's my plan for today? Yeah, as I said, I just want to take a general look into the GitHub repository of Flutter itself. And also I want to check it out. So the first thing that nearly everyone does if he starts with Flutter and wants to develop in it is cloning the whole project. And let's do that in the first place because that is what the most people do. So I will do it also. So I will just put it here in a folder and that will also take a while. So that's maybe a good option that we do it here. I will work today with Visual Studio Code, just out of pure reason because we want to make Dart development or even C++ development, depending on. So Android Studio will not cover that because Android Studio is just for pure app development. You can do it somehow, but I think it is pretty challenging. On the other hand, because this is an open source project, we could also install IntelliJ and work with IntelliJ there. And because I think the community version of IntelliJ is for open source projects free. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. Cool, we can open the project here. And as you see, there is already a lot of stuff like get packages can we do. And I think that can be done. And here we get already some problems. So you can see directly in the beginning, we get directly some issues here, even though we didn't even do anything. So this is Flutter project. I heard a lot of people complain about that. That's pretty big and very hard to understand everything. So that's why I want to go by that step by step. So how would I start if I see that the first time? So the first thing is always the README MD. Even though this one will not help us so much, because it is exactly the same like in GitHub, right? So if we go back to GitHub, we can see the README underneath, and we can read the documentation, how we can install Flutter, how the documentation, but we are interested more in the could you talk about, is Flutter has really a future, because we are afraid Apple abandoned Flutter like it abandoned Intel. Is Apple anyway participating in Flutter? I don't think so, right? So Flutter is at the moment anyway completely run by Google. The only thing is it could be that they don't support anymore that Flutter is running on Apple devices. But for that, I think it has a future, because I cannot imagine that Flutter team is working so much in that area to improve all the different parts of the Cupertino and bringing all the information into it, and then just getting abandoned by the Apple product. And as you can see, we also compile into the different parts like ARM and Intel. So also the different architecture types should be set up. So I don't think that there should be a problem. And if there is, we will find it most likely here in the issues. But until now, I didn't hear anything that Apple will abandon Flutter, or that Flutter will not work anymore on iOS. But you never know, right? That's the problem if we are depending on very big companies like Google and Flutter, right? Or Google and Apple. But yeah, still for now, I didn't hear anything about that. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. So we want to develop with the wiki, so we jump in development wiki. And here we come the first time into the pages, and as you can see, 107 pages. There is a lot to understand and to do. And you have to understand that Flutter is separated in more or less 2 layers. One is the UI layer, and the other one is the engine layer. And as far as I have heard, the engine layer underneath is always harder to develop in. But as I said, let's just start with easy stuff that we can understand. So for engineers building, making contribution to Flutter. So this is exactly what we want to achieve today. If you are new to Flutter, then you will find more general information, Flutter project, okay, we are not. If you want to know what we are likely to do in the future, we can have the roadmap. That would be interesting for me right now. So we are focusing on web and desktop quality, release channels and candidates, and milestone dates. That sounds all pretty cool. And we know that, I think Tim Sneath released there a new article about the whole desktop application support and so on and so forth. Cool. And the other thing, if you intended to contribute to Flutter, welcome. If you are encouraged to start our contributor guide. So as you can see, the Flutter project has already prepared something for us, how we can start as a contributor. So I start up that one. And you see, we will get redirected into contribution MD. So this is the file where you usually find in GitHub and open source projects how you can contribute, and if they want even that you contribute, because there are also some open source projects that say strictly, hey, we work on us, it would be great if you add some issues and that you write some documentation, but please do not contribute to the project directly. Tom Plus, hello Mino, nice to see you. It's a good. So yeah, we invite to joining our team. Everyone is welcome. Contribute code via pull request. That's perfect. To file issues on GitHub. Oh, I made even a mistake. I didn't fork the whole thing. That is maybe even more important. At the moment, if you remember, I just pulled right away the master branch. And as you can see, we are currently on a specific remote. So if I change here the remote, we can take a look. Where are you? Wait. How can I see the remotes in... Is that something? Okay, let's work with the command line then. So let's see, git remotes. Okay, git remote. We have currently just the origin, and I don't know if this is working. Set URL, rename. We can add one. But what we did is now we added the remote directly to the master or to the main repository of Git Flutter. Hi Coding Stark, nice to see you. Hope you are fine. The problem with that is we don't and we can't even work directly on that one. So the problem is we have to fork the whole thing. Git remote -v. Ah, yeah, perfect. So you can see we are directly on the Flutter project and that will not work that fine. So what we have to do is we have to fork the whole thing, and I will do that on my name. I have even a fork already. So what I will do is I clone this fork here. So remote, I think it is, if I read that right, it would be add. So we have git remote add, and we add now, how is it? Name and URL. So we give it a name. I will call that now fork and give it the URL. And now we have two remotes. So if I say git remote v, we see here the fork remote. This is mine. And the other one is the Flutter main remote. Now, if we take, say, git fetch, we get all the metadata of the git of the pull requests. And what we can see here now is we get like a whole bunch of branches, and you can see we have this origin / in front of it. And I think all from origin are currently from the remote of origin here. So how can we check out now the master branch of fork? Oh, good point. Thank you, Mahtab. So where's the problem? My webcam is blocked. Right corner on the screen. Here we go. So hope that works. Cool. So good, git fetch. What I wanted to do is changing the branch, and I want to go to the branch of fork. So git branch, and I think we can go. How can I check out the branch again? Didn't work with the command line in a while. So git branch list maybe? Nope. -help. So what did we get? Okay, let us Google that. Git checkout branch from remote. And here we find learn the git checkout development. That's close enough, but we need to have this correct branch. And I think this is that here. So git checkout, and here instead of origin, we will have fork in our case. Git checkout fork / master. Did not match up with any files known to Git. Oh, that's unlucky. Do I have to add the remote somehow? Is it easy to use? I don't know. I don't know how to get the... So checkout to publish branch. Can I check out to? We have just the origins here. Fetch from all remotes. Maybe this was the wrong. Here, git pull, then we have the fork, and we get the fork master in that case. So, and most likely this fork master, am I now on fork master? Git branch, I'm on a master, thank you for that, but on which? Oh, I really hate the git extension of Visual Studio. Show git export, remote, flutter git ref, git commit, meh. More than 120,000 errors, problems inside of the Github. Fantastic. Okay, this is not what I wanted to do. This is not a tutorial for Git, for Visual Studio, and even though I'm somehow come into that, so let's see if I can check out something. Master of fork, yes. fatal. A branch named master already exists. Ah, this is the problem. That makes sense. This. And how do I see my local branches here? What I can do is I can what did I do? I make checkout to, and then I say which branch I am. This would be fork master that I want to have. And can I not set the name where to I want to push it? Okay, maybe I have to change the name of the branch where I'm currently at. Okay, I have a better idea because that costs me too much time. I will open up Android Studio because I work with that extension all the time and I think it is well done there. So open an existing project. We are going to development and searching for Flutter in that case. Voila. No, that is not a good idea, coding start. You don't just remove something just because something does not work. It's just because I don't understand it, then we have to learn it, right? So in my opinion, because I am just more familiar with the Android Studio extensions, I think I will work with that for Git at that moment. And that should be also fine. So we close that, we get that rid of, and where do we are at the moment? So we have a master branch which points to origin master, and I can rename that to origin master. Origin local master. So, and the next thing that I want to do is searching for the fork, which is the master here. I checked that one out. So this one is now the fork master, of course fork local. And with that, we know exactly where we are at the moment. And I have the perfect names and we know where we to push to. Because what we have to do now, because my fork is of course a version that is outdated, most likely, I have to update this fork informations. So what I will have to do is I have to merge the origin local information to our current branch. So to fork local. I will do that right now. And as you see, it merged perfectly. There is no problem with that. And I could even delete that one, but yes, I will use Visual Studio Code to code, but just for getting the most newest information from everything. I work with that. So, and what I will do now is I will push my information from the master of the origin to my fork. And as you can see, they are quite a lot. So if I push them, the fight against Visual Studio and Android Studio. Okay, but you can see it's over 1,400 commits since I worked the last time in the repository. So I have forgotten mostly everything. And I can close that off for now. And this audio media, this is something else, okay. And now with Visual Studio Code, we can work here further. And I hope, yes, so the naming has also changed now to fork local master. Okay, that was an odyssey, but at the end we are now ready to work, because whenever I change now something in Visual Studio Code, I can push that to my own environment of the fork local, or even to the fork on GitHub, and I will not change anything in the Flutter project. So it is my own state, and I know exactly what I want to do here. What is that? Go away. So I can change whatever I want, even though if I'm doing something completely wrong, like going into the README file and delete everything, I can push that now and it would not hurt anyone in the Flutter project. Of course, I wouldn't create a pull request with it, but this is absolutely possible for now. Okay, cool. But now let's jump right back into the contribution file and let's have a look what we have here. So some interesting points are that Stack Overflow to help at the triage, reproduce bugs, fix bugs that people have filed, to add to documentation or help in any other way. So you see, to contribute to a project, it is not just writing code, right? It is everything. It is like the issues in GitHub repository. So this is one of the major things, because as you can see, the Flutter project has over 5,000 issues open at the moment. And because thanks to the people from Nevercode and Android, and for example, Taha is a very famous one who is making the triage work. And what is triage work? As you can see, all of these issues have been labeled, like desktop, material design, found in release, and creating of a bug information about it. So you can see here, for example, Taha is trying to reproduce the error and the bug, giving us a code sample and a Flutter Dr. V, just to make sure to see how it works. Because this is very important for us as contributors, because we want to know how the bug exactly happened and occurred and how to solve that. And the good thing is, if this triage work has been done, like for example, we know it is on desktop, we know it is scrolling, framework and so on, these are all information for us how we can solve these problems. But as you can see, also this is work, right? So someone has to do it, and this is open source community, so everyone can do it at the end. And if you are taking a look into other repositories, Flutter does an excellent job in that case. So if we just, for example, taking the React framework, which is maybe exactly the same, you see they have only 500 issues, which could be a good information that you can say, okay, it's more stable, it has just 500 problems, but you can't forget that Flutter is pretty new, and we have a very active community who files a lot of issues and making the triage work. And that's one reason for that. And as you can see, the triage work here is way more limited, like for example, unconfirmed or open for discussion and so on. But at least they do something around that. So that is perfectly fine. Okay, but now how can I identify a bug for me that I can work on, right? That would be something. So first of all, if you are very crazy, you can search for the most of the thumbs up, because this is one of the measurements of the Flutter project, how they identify very important things. And as you can see, something like code push hot update, out of band updates is deprecated at the moment. But if you take a look into it, it has a lot of discussion inside, and it is one of the most liked ones. So if you want to fix one of these, it is most likely that you will not do it alone, of course, because that's why we are in a team. But these are the most loved information, and this is stuff that really interests the most of the people. So this is one option how you can find a bug for you, but it's not really good for starters and beginners like I am. So what I would like to do is searching a better option for me. So I go back to that. And as you can see, here are labels. And if you check the labels, there are like 269, which is really a crazy amount. And usually there are some information like good for beginners or something. So now I could just search for them through and just check if I find the right thing. But there is a better way. We have the contributing to Flutter page, if you remember. And here we can also just read through, and most likely they have already prepared something for us. So we grant commit access, which includes full rights to issue and database, to people who have gained our trust and demonstrate a commitment to Flutter. Okay, so I didn't get their trust yet because they don't know me and they have never seen a pull request from me. So most likely I'm not part of that yet, but I can create still pull requests that they can review and merge to their repository. For me, more details, see the contributor access page on our wiki. Okay. So we communicate primarily via GitHub and on chat channels. What is a chat channel? I'm interested. Okay, so there is a Discord channel. The Flutter team uses a Discord server, which you are invited to join. So everyone can join this Discord server, which I will do right now. Let's be max. I think that's perfect. Oh, wait. My username in Discord, I have no idea. So let's check that out. Up. And that would be let me do that on the other screen right now. So sorry, they asked me for my birth date and everything, so... Okay, here we go. Cool. So, and here you can see now the whole Flutter development process. And as you can see, there is like crazy lot of channels. And also, if you are coming to the welcome channel, Hixie, one of the big ones of the Flutter team, has written already and prepared something for you. So you can see the contribution guides. If you have questions, feel free to write it in the help channel. So there is also a help channel, as you can find here. And please do not private message people on the server. Okay, that's very important for us. And there are no different parts, I think. Cool. And the code of conduct, we're coming in a second to it. Good. So we can chat with the Flutter team. Even this is possible. That is really, really, really good. Sorry for that. Okay. Then we are coming to that, and you see already up here, see the Flutter code of conduct. So I opened it up already in a second screen because that will be interesting in the future. So helping out issues in database. So I told you already that Flutter is like separated in different layers. And the first layer is always pretty easy, I would say. Then comes the engine in the bottom, and the database is even closer to it. So you can find the hackers triage chat, read the code of conduct, okay. Help out as described in our wiki. So here's a triage wiki even. Interesting, because we can have a look here also to understand all the different labels that we get for the GitHub repositories. And as you can see, you can read and read and read. The GitHub repository of Flutter is really detailed in their documentation. But this also includes that this is a lot of stuff to digest in the beginning. So this is where the whole intimidation comes from for new developers to just help by the Flutter team. And as you can see, I'm also not different here, because if I check once more the issues, I think I have already contributed to the GitHub repository. I don't know if you can find that somehow. I just added some issues and so on, but I have never written a line of code for them till now. So that is pretty impressive. And if you take a look, as I said, Hixie is one of the biggest one who writes a lot of code, and he really is into the Flutter framework. But as you can see, even he is getting a bit more quiet. The auto role is a bot most likely, but he is very active since 2018, mid 2018 and so on. And here John Williams and so on. So these people are really people you can follow, because they really are crazy in the Flutter community and inside of knowing how to work with the GitHub repository. But I wanted to talk about issues, and I think if I'm searching for myself, MD Weber, there's one closed. So hey, I did something. Okay. But back to our roadmap. So contributing to Flutter. Till now, we don't want to help at the issues in the database, at least not yet. Interesting is also the issue hygiene. This is something that is very important here, because Flutter takes a lot of eye on that part. So the hygiene of the issue, and I think somewhere is also the tree hygiene and style guides. You really should read them carefully, because it is very important for you to know about this stuff. So for example, hey Nicole, nice to see you. Hope you are well. So yeah, so if you want to vote up an issue, thumbs up reaction is very important. You can do that. The different milestones, file a bug, and how you can do it. Be careful. They always want to have all the logs like Flutter Doctor and so on. They want really in their repository inside. Same comments to the bugs. So instead of writing me too or same, you should always add a +1, so the thumbs up, to a comment or post, so that the Flutter team knows that there are multiple people who are interested in that problem. Cool. So this is something very interesting. So developing for Flutter. So let's developing for Flutter. I think that is finally that point where we want to be. And to develop for Flutter, you will eventually need to become familiarized with our processes and conventions. As I said, Flutter is an established framework. That means they really have a guideline for nearly everything, and you really have to first take some time, like 1 or 2 hours, to just read through the important parts of the documentation, like the code of conduct. So let's start with the code of conduct. So who is contributing to it? Yeah, Hickson was part of it, then Todd Volkert and Phil Quitzlund. Okay, so these people have wrote this code of conduct, how to behave inside of the Flutter repository. And the good thing is most of that already is part of the community. So if you are in the Flutter community, the most of this stuff will be interesting for or will be for you already inherited. You like respect people, their identities, their culture, and their work. I didn't have heard about someone who didn't do that so far, so this is good. Be kind, courteous, and welcoming. Listen, consider, acknowledge people's point before responding. So this is very important because sometimes you have a very strong opinion and you don't get the other side anymore. And with that, they want to get against this a bit, but it's always difficult, right? Okay, so Hixie and Tim are people who we can contact for problems, and they don't tolerate any harassment in the Flutter's community, even outside of the public communication channels. And I think you can also blame some people for that, but you shouldn't do that. State management or provider, which is good. This is not really a question because provider is not necessarily a state management tool, but you can use it for that. And state management is always important. You have to do it anyway. So even set state is state management. Okay. Conflict resolution. When multiple contributors disagree on the direction for a particular patch, a general direction, or a project, the conflict should be resolved by communication. That makes a lot of sense. The people who disagree should get together, try to understand each other's point of view, and work to find a design that addresses everyone's concerns. More senior member of the team. Okay, so if we can't find a solution as beginners, we can reach out to more senior members of the team, which is fantastic. A variety of agreement by attribution. Well, never heard this word. I have to shortly translate that to German. Sorry for that. Attribution, jeez. All right. I have to read the sentence again. Be variety of agreement by attrition. Okay. Where one people argues a point rapidly until other participants give up in the interest in moving on. All right, fantastic. This is not conflict resolution. That is everything true. All right, I understand. So this means we should not talk about one topic all over again and do it again and do it again, even though it is my own personal opinion. And I try to get rid of other opinions by repeating it as long till other people don't want to hear about it anymore. Be agreement of compromise, so we should be able to compromise for that project. And why I'm telling this in such a detail is very important because these are parts of the communication of the Flutter team. So if you want to contribute, it is how they will behave to you, right? So if you read that carefully and you write a pull request, and I know it is intimidating in the beginning, but the Flutter people will not starting to shout you out or tell you you are a beginner and go home or something. They will really take your opinion, understand your point of view, even though it is maybe a beginner idea, and they will try to convince you to find a better solution and maybe work with you together to find a better solution, because that is what the community of Flutter is all about. We want to learn all together. Tom, you say provider is a type of state management. I would a bit disagree of that. Is it not a service provider and can be used as a state management? Because I think change notifier specifically is a state management tool, for example. But for example, stream provider or a value provider is not necessarily a state management tool, right? As far as I've understood. But it would be great if you have there more documentation to that. Okay, so what is the question? It's always good, okay to ask questions. Our systems are large and nobody will be expert in all systems. That's absolutely true. So even here, nobody will be an expert in all systems. That is absolutely true. Flutter is way too big to be an expert in everything. Once you find the answer, document it in the first place you looked. That way, the next person will be brought up to speed even quicker. Okay, perfect. This is the code of conduct. So if you keep this in mind and you will be working with the Flutter people in that way, they will be responding in the same way. And this is absolutely fine. And with that, everyone, it's not a mistake. It was just an understanding. I'm not absolutely sure about that because a lot of people are saying that state management and provider is like nearly the same. But I think that is a bit of difference, but that's fine. I mean, the change notifier is there, very important for that. So a lot of people make that idea, I think. So values, which talks about we care most about. So let's see, what are the values of the Flutter team? Flutter's core values, build the best way to develop user interface. That is absolutely true. I think the whole idea of Dart is actually to have perfect user interface, right? So as you can see, Dart paint your UI to life. So they really want to improve the UI building. But as you can see, it's more Flutter that they show on their Dart page, which is pretty impressive. We have the instant hot reload. We are optimized for UI, productive development, fast on all platforms. Interesting enough, Flutter and Dart is also possible to work on other parts. Can you list all the Flutter topics to learn for a beginner? I think I can't do all of them because as you heard, Flutter is way too big to know everything. But if you want to start with Flutter, there is like a guidance that I'm always pass through. There is like that Flutter roadmap, I think was the name of the article that I found. And there is a fantastic article, how you get better in Flutter step by step. Is it this one, I think? Why Flutter, hello world, build animations, structuring code. Yeah, I think it is this one. Or is it more? I'm not sure. One of them is it, and the other one was that one. Yeah, this one from Ashish it is. So he explains all the different parts of Flutter, and as you see, the article is pretty long. But the good thing is it really takes you from one step to another to understand the Flutter framework more and more better. I will just open up a chat, then I can send you the link. So, and I think that is way better than just that I explain you now every step that you have to take to get the perfect Flutter developer. At the end, don't give up, and you should have at least like a half a year where you get better and better with the development. Because if you are completely new, you have to learn Dart, you have to learn how to make prototypes, you have to identify how everything works, and so on and so forth. And that takes time, right? So we are in a complex world, and especially with Flutter. And yeah, but take your time and enjoy the journey. It's really a cool part where you can create amazing user interfaces. Okay. This tells us to build the best way to develop user interfaces. The best way to develop UI is a productive way of developing beautiful application, fast applications. Okay, we want to be able, oh, this is very important for me. The best way to develop user interfaces enables developers to create applications fast. Because why I'm that sophisticated so much? Because this is one part that I love so much about Flutter. They care as a primary objective about the well-being of developers. You have to understand this is not always the case for all the different parts. So if you find a plugin for Flutter, this is not something that magically happened and is there. It was from the beginning a part of the Flutter framework that developers should have a good tooling and good understanding. And that's the perfect thing about hot reload and this creation and all the different... Oh, you are very welcome, Andrew. Hope it helps. So the best way to develop, I think I should maybe talk with who is it? Go to the side. I should really talk with Ashish and thank him for writing this blog article, because whenever someone is asking about how to start with Flutter development, I post exactly this post, and I think it has everything that you need to get started. Whew. All right, sorry. So, and that last point is the best way to develop user interfaces is extendable, so that you are not barrier to developers. And that's pretty crazy good, because we love that we have hot reload, that the state don't change when we hot reload. Sorry, not hot reload, hot restart. I don't know. I think hot reload was with state and hot restart was without state. I'm not sure anymore, but one of the two. And also the new dev tooling. I don't know if you have seen the Flutter Days talk from Philip Herjek, but he made such an amazing talk about the new development tools from Flutter. Fantastic. It's really great that we get more and more stuff for us as developers. Hey, Trending Codes. Hope you're well. Thank you. I really love that. Happy to see you all. Hey, we have 11 viewers at that time. I didn't expect it that. I thought it's work time and nobody's here. Cool. Then focus on the user and all else will follow. That is very important because development goes by business cases, right? We are just drivers for business. We want to improve business at the end. So whatever we do it for business. Our users is the developer. Oh, interesting. Our developer users is the end user of the application written with Flutter. Our first priority is our developers user and end users. Our second priority is our user, the developer. Our first priority is to our developers user, the end user. Okay, so the end user is the priority. And after that, the developer. But that's fine, I think. Sorry. Caring about end users, high quality support for accessibility, top performance stability. So you can see it's like marketing reading, right? So this is what we want. So if someone asks you what is Flutter is caring about, it is exactly this. So we care about a good development experience. We care about the developers, users. We call it the end users. We care about high quality accessibility, top performance, stability, high fidelity, campability. So if you read, you learn this phrase or you memorize this phrase and you will tell it to everyone, they will know exactly what the Flutter team is all about. So what does it mean to care about developers? This means to create a joyful and productive development experience. And this is something, if you have ever worked with Xamarin or any other mobile framework that is separated in two parts, the productive and joyful experience is amazing because nothing is worse than sitting in front of your desktop computer that has so many RAM and power and you don't see your result, or you need to rebuild everything and have to wait like hours and hours to see the end result. So I think this is something they really did well. And I think I heard yesterday the phrase from a friend from us, and she said since she started with Flutter, she overcome her laziness to start with development, because she is always trying to start with Java and everything, and with that she really overcome that and started to develop more and more in Flutter. So creating simple, reliable, predictable APIs, giving the developer full access and underlying platform and so forth. And this is very important because the predictable, reliable and simple APIs are also well documented APIs. Perfect, Stefano. This is how I like it. I hope I don't distract you too much. Cool. So Flutter is an open source project in the full senses of the word. So you can do everything with it. We are open to ideas. We are open to contributions. Our code and roadmap are open. Our priorities are open. Sorry. Don't know what's wrong with my voice at the moment. So transparency leads to a high quality product. While our team is currently primarily formed of employees from Google, we aspire to grow and welcome anyone to join the team. Flutter's stewardship is managed by the Google team. Yeah. So that is what we knew, right? Google is main sponsor and main supporter of the Flutter framework. But that's fine, I think. Okay, that's about the values. Let's jump back to the contribution. So you can see it is a lot to understand, and it's now like 40 minutes where I'm just talking about soft skills of Flutter, right? Best way to learn JSON serialization. Well, music lover, the best way, and because you are on my stream at the moment, is of course to watch my video about JSON serialization. And if this is not enough, I have also created a Medium article, which I also can share with you, that is also about JSON serialization. And I think I am... wait, where is it? My stories. Sorry, I'm not that often on Medium, but CICD, step-by-step guide for Flutter JSON serialization. In that case, I'm working with a JSON serializer. So there's everything explained. We do that together. And I think that can help you. Of course, there are also other information and toolings that you can use. But I think that would help you at least to start somewhere. And the other part that I can improve you or that I can recommend you is just looking for JSON and Flutter serialization, because if my article is not good enough, you will find on, let me check, where is it? Stack Overflow. I thought there is a Flutter version somewhere, flutter.dev. Maybe I have to add that. Funky. I'm the only one to find. That was not on purpose. Sorry for that. I think if we go to flutter.dev, we will find somewhere in the docs. Development, tools and techniques, packages, Flutter favorites, platform, JSON and serialization. Okay, so here, that is this. And here we have the other link for the Flutter team. And they also explain, for example, the basic work, so how you can use a JSON decode and JSON encode, so you don't have to use a build runner for that. So it is a bit easier to get into it in the beginning. Okay, setting up your engine development environment. So this is tough stuff, which describes the steps you need to configure your computer to work on Flutter's engine. If you only want to write code for the Flutter framework, you can skip this step. Flutter's engine mainly uses C++, Java, and Objective-C. And most likely you can answer me the question why they use C++, Java, and Objective-C. Because Flutter is getting natively compiled, right? So they have native access to all the different parts of the device. So if you access the camera, for example, of an iOS device, you will write it in Objective-C to make a plugin for it. You have C++ to access the metal base of iOS, I think, and Java for the Android parts. I will do that for now. I would really be interested to work on the engine if I get the option, because even though it is harder, I would like the challenge and try to help the Flutter team here. So if you have already built the engine and have a configuration set up, but merely need a refresher on actually compiling the code, see compiling the engine. No, we are starting from the beginning. Make sure you have the following dependencies available. We have a Linux, Mac OS. So we have Mac OS in our example, but as you can see, Windows and Linux is also possible. We have cross-compiling artifacts, that's fine. We have Git, perfect. And IDE, that sounds pretty good. See also the section at the bottom of the page for advice and syntax highlighting while editing. Okay, cool. An SSH client, I think I have that. Chromium's depot tool. So here gets the first time interesting. Make sure it's in your path. We use GC client tool from depot tools. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, that's something else. Get depot tools. Clone the depot repository. What I want to check is if there is a brew for that. So depot tools. Let's see if there is a brew. And the good thing is Chromium, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Okay, unfortunate. So this means we really have to clone that whole thing. So let's do that. We open up a terminal. Make that a bit bigger for you. So we go to development branch, we search inside here. LSL. So, and as you see, there is a lot of stuff. So I say just git clone and the file. Was it wrong? They have already added me the git clone. So I just execute that, and as you see, we are going to the Chromium, which is the main part of Chrome browsers. So this is the Chromium part. And inside of here, we get the Chromium tools, depot tools. So it seems that there is a tooling that is created just for Chromium, and Flutter is using that. So let's clone that one. Will take a while, I'm sorry for that. And then we have to export the path. And most likely you know that already, but let's configure a path in macOS, because I am hearing always that this is sometimes a bit difficult and tricky, and especially for the new version of macOS. So what I will do is jumping right away into my home folder, and this is the wrong tooling. I'm using for that Commander 1. Commander 1 is an extension for Finder, and you see some stuff is a bit better oriented, and you can work a bit better with that. And as you see up here, you have that nice little tooling that you show invisible files. And invisible files in macOS is mostly everything with a dot in front of it. And what you can see down here, there is a set shrz. And if we open up our terminal once more, we can see up here there's set sh in the top. And this tells us that this is a set sh terminal. And now we open up this RC file, and you see a lot of different exports already in place. These are all the exports that that we have in place. And what is an export at the end? If you open up your terminal and we want to, for example, just execute something like Git, then it needs to be part of these exported things here, that we can just take a file somewhere and execute it from everywhere. Okay, I hope that was clear. I'm not sure because it was a bit wacky explained, but yeah. Let's see. So we have path to depot tools, double point path. All right. So we add this part, and the path is slash, what is the path? Let's find out. We go to my home folder, searching for development, and here we have the depot tools. And as you see, there are a lot of files, like for example, Auto Ninja or BB and so on, that we can execute as soon we have added that to the path files. So we get the info here. And as you see, we should have here somewhere the path, hopefully. So it is users miracle development. So hopefully I can add that correctly. I think the user part is just $home. Then development slash depot underline tools slash, and at the end we have a colon with the path, which just tells the whole thing to add the rest of the path environments at the end to it. So we have this in part, this is in front, this is in back, perfect. So with that, if I close that off and I close off again the terminal once more, and completely restart it, just in case, we should have been access to these files here. So for example, if I want to execute cross here, we can do that. And as you see, something happened. So the cross has been executed. This means your path is in the right section, everything is set up correctly, and that's perfect. So we execute, exit the command line, and we are ready with the depot tools. Okay, next, Pyten. We need Pyten. That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have installed Pyten, so nope, Py is not installed. Used by many of our tools, including GC clients. So let's install Pyten. Is there a version? Curl and unzip used by GC clients sync. Okay. Unfortunately, there's no version of Pyten, so I'm not sure what I have to add here. But what I will do is I just install the newest version with 3.83 and hope it works. Or is Pyten generally installed in macOS? Ah, perfect. So then maybe I don't have even to install that part here. Because if I execute Pyten itself, it seems that on a Mac it is automatically installed. So this version includes in macOS for compatibility, legacy software. Future versions of Mac will not include Pyten 2.7. That you transition to Pyten 3 from within terminal. Pyten 2. Okay, so can I upgrade Pyten in that case? Python V. So upgrade Pyten in macOS. Let's see. Do I have to download it then? That would be a shame. I don't want to actually. With homebrew, I love that. So I will do exactly this because I'm a homebrew fan. So if you don't know brew, yep, I can go with the stable one. Thank you. That is perfect to know. So what I will do is I will use homebrew to install Pyten free because, yeah, brew is a package manager for Mac, which installs you packages like Pyten, for example. And hopefully in the future also Flutter, because I think there is an issue open for that, if I'm right. Where can we find that? Triage. Let's go to the issues. And I think if we search for brew, I thought there is a lot of open issues. Crazy, okay. So let's search for the highest. Yeah, let Flutter be installed via homebrew. So it's also a high voted one with 633, still open, unfortunate. But this is a pretty active one, as you can see, 9 days around. But that would be fantastic if this is coming up in the future. So we were waiting for that. And if you want to have it too, give it an upvote so that the Flutter team knows that they should work on that, as I did. Okay, so it's already installed and up to date. Please reinstall. No, I don't want to reinstall it. That's perfect, but it was Pyten free. All right, fantastic. If it is already installed, I can exit that one. Cool. So if it is already installed, we can upgrade it with brew in that case. So brew upgrade Python. What do I do? Brew update Python. Upgrade Python. Cool. Upgrade Python. Did I enter a number at the end? I'm not sure. The formula. Okay, unfortunate, I don't. Updating homebrew. Brew upgrade. Warning 377 is already installed. Is it the newest version? That could be. Here's also a homebrew thing. Okay. Okay, cool. So it is not yet the newest version of Pyten, but I have installed one, which is perfectly fine still. We have Pyten in place, fine. Used by many other tools, including GC client. Okay, on Mac OS, Linux, curl and unzip used by, I think both of them are installed, I hope. So what we can do to check is we go to our terminal and execute curl. And as you can see, we get to execute curl help, so curl is installed. Curl is a network manager that can talk with different networks, and we can ask, for example, a getter method and ask with your server to ask to give some data. And unzip is, well, unzip. So if you have a zip file, you can unzip it with it. Cool. Then the latest Xcode. I think this is the biggest one. I hope I have Xcode installed and up to date. They always update whenever I don't look. So yeah, no, it's there and it is installed. Perfect. Recommended for Googlers, so we can ignore that. You do not need Dart installed. Is automatically downloaded. Getting the code step similar for the Android SDK. It's downloaded via G client sync step below. Okay, now it's getting interesting. I never have done this G client sync. Run the following steps to set up your environment. First, fork it, okay. But this is a specific folder, right? It's forking of the engine. So have a look here. That is an own one. So I will fork that too. How I will do that is going in here, clone. I'm not sure, should I fork it? Yeah, fork it. So let's fork it first, of course, onto my name. You can see also this one I had already. So I get that one. So let's see, we go to development, select. So I hope really that my van and everything is good, so you can't hear so much noise in the background, but my laptop's getting hot. In the meantime, this is upgrading, that's fine. Just a second. getting a little bit fresh air here. So are you... Yep. Now with that clone, we have also to get the master fork, I think, at least to get the newest version. And I think I will open up Android Studio once more for that, because as you know, I have no idea how to work with Git in Visual Studio Code. So let's open up the next folder, go away, cool. And we go back to development and we search for the Flutter, or better for the engine this time. I think it is exactly here. We go inside and we search for the remotes and add a new remote that we call, in that case, main, and we give it the Flutter engine path. Because I had already once checked out the fork, and as you can see, this is now the fork master here. And that is very important for us because I want to get the newest version of the Flutter repository. So we fetch everything. Fetch will get the metadata from all the different remotes that we have set up in Git. I think I can close that off. Oh, quit. Perfect. Fantastic. So and now we have, as you can see, main, which is the main repository from Flutter. And we have the origin, which is at the moment our fork. It is a bit badly named. I think I can also remote change that once more and call the origin just fork to make sure that we are on the same page like on the Flutter part, on the other repository that I checked out. Okay. So I will just rebase everything, cool. But I think that shouldn't be doing anything. Perfect. And if I'm searching now for not the fork, but for the origin, I call it different main, and then /master, I would like to merge it into the current, because the main master is now the Flutter repository engine, and I want to have it in my fork so that I have the newest and latest information of that. And if we push that now up to the GitHub repository, you can see again a bunch of different changes and like all the different file changes. We push that up. So my fork is now on the newest version of all that, and we can directly start working on that. And as you see in the engine, there is 4,660 changes since I have worked on that last time. And I think the last time that I worked on that is like a year ago or something. So when I took the first eye on the repository. Okay, but if I update that now and check out again my fork, we can see we are on the latest, we have all the changes, and we have now the newest engine part here too. Okay, into your own GitHub account, I did that. If you already have a fork and you are now installing development environment on a new machine, make sure you have updated your fork so that you don't use stale configuration options from long ago. Do not clone this repo locally. Scripts will take care of that for you. Okay, do not clone this repo locally. Oh, okay, so I made a big mistake. I should not clone this repository locally. The script will do that for me, if I have understood that right. So what I will do now is I have updated now my version, yes, but what I will do next is I will delete that folder once more. So I'm searching for engine, we just remove that. Because, as here is, do not clone this repository locally, right? We don't want to. Scripts will take care of that. Perfect. If you haven't configured your machine with a SSH key that's known to GitHub, then follow the directions here. I have done that. I'm not sure if I have set that up at the moment for here. So in the worst case, I have to do that off screen, unfortunately, because I don't want that you have my SSH key. I wouldn't like that. An SSH key is something where you can say that this computer is yours, so you don't have to connect it with anything. So this one is an old one. I can evenly delete that. And the other one should be fine, I think. So if this is part, yep, that should work. Yeah, I know. Cool. So create an empty directory called engine for your copy of the repository and cd into it. Okay, let's see if I can do that. We go back to our terminal, which I clear right now. We take a look, we go to the development, we take another look, we make mkdir and say, what do we say? Mkdir, what is the name? Engine. Okay. But that's good, Ayush, that you wouldn't take my key. That is very nice of you. I trust my community, as always. Okay, so I created that empty object. It is possible to use a different name, but some tools assume this name. Okay, so I don't want to change it. I keep it as engine. Create a .gz client. How do you pronounce that? GC client? Okay, create a GC client file in engine directory with the following content. Replace your name with your GitHub account name. Okay, fantastic. So we touch a new file that is this one. Oh, that was wrong. rm.gc client. So we delete it again. We go into the engine and now we touch the whole file. So touch GC client. And as you see now, it is invisible file, so we don't see it here in the terminal. And to be honest, I don't know the command yet for that. But if I'm right and I open the commander 1 again, jumping into the engine, we will find that file here as invisible. So now we have to copy the solution part here, and we find here your username, your name here. So in that case, MD Weber. Fantastic. Do we have anything that we have to add? I don't think so. So I saved that file, and this should be done. G-client sync in the directory. This will fetch all source code that Flutter depends on. Avoid interrupting this script, as doing so can leave your repository in an inconsistent state that is tedious to clean up. This is a nice wording for it destroys your machine, but yeah, so this step automatically runs git clone among other things. So it seems that this is a long running process, so it could be that I have to stall in a second, that I have to talk with you and have just watching the laptop. So let's see, engine. And in engine, we can now execute G-client sync. And here we go. So the cool thing is you have here something that you can learn for all your projects, right? Because this is a fantastic tooling, even though they use G-client now or something, but they have set up a script that installs the engine, that gets all the clients and repositories. And even though you have the feeling you have to do a lot as a dependencies, it is actually very easy to use, right? If you have a script that you execute and everything is installed after that, that is fantastic for a big project. I don't know how many large project or large scale project you have seen in your life, but I can tell you from my knowledge from different customers, this is not the usual case that you can just execute a script and you can run and work. Usually you need 1 or 2 days just working through some documentation, install the different parts, getting accesses from other people and so on and so forth. So this is really high level stuff, and you can just see that Google has already a lot of, how do you call, experience with large scale projects, right? And they have, of course, their own method and processes already in place, how they work with such stuff. So I really love to have something like that. And you see it's executing now Python 3, Pyten and so on. It executes all the different parts. And if we have a look here, we can see they are all from the depot tools and so on and so forth. We get some information. If you encounter any issues running GC, please file a bug. Okay, makes sense. Your metrics file was invalid or non-existent. A new one will be created. Okay, can live with that. But as you can see, this is all stuff that supports us, right? Because I am a new developer, I have no idea. And if I would now to have clone all the different folders in the right folder, maybe also in the right version with different toolings and so on and so forth, I would be very quickly overwhelmed. And you can see that the Google team has me covered there. Or not the Google team, the Flutter team, to be more frank or more precise. Okay, but what have we to do after that? Add a remote to the upstream repository. This is what I will do next. And look at that. They also documented how this is working. This is fantastic. Git remote add upstream to the Flutter engine so that you fetch from the master Flutter engine repository, not your clone, when running git fetch at all. Perfect. cd ... return to the source code, and we have to sync again, creating engine directory. Okay. Interesting. Here now the git cloning happens, so we get now different parts. So for example, we clone, for example, inside of engine source the G client Flutter with a number behind. It's really sad that I don't have a coffee. You know what, guys? I will make a break for 5 minutes. I just will make myself a coffee in the meantime, and I will be back right away. Okay? Thank you. Till later. Activate here. I am back, but as you can see, still the installation is running, so there's nothing that you should take lighthearted. Fantastic, you're still here. I thought after a break you would be gone all and I would be alone. So what are you working at the moment? Flutter development, Flutter projects? Oh, I should make also the music a bit silent, quieter. So syncing the project. Remote upstream. If you're on Linux, we don't have to do it. Oh, Oracle Java JDK, okay. Install and. I can make that also a bit bigger, I think. Can't read anything. Sorry for that. But it's really cool to have such a big library and everything inside of checked out and also be part of it, even if you just try to get your head around it, how it works. Because it helps you if you have ever to set up a big project to understand how you can do that stuff. That is pretty cool in my opinion. I can maybe show you a project that I have done once for the Chingo team on GitHub. And there I was also very careful about the stuff that I did. So let me see if I find it. It was like Chingo or Flutter Web. I'm not sure anymore about that. Chingo Flutter, yeah, that was my first project where I worked on. And if I know this is the team. Or was it solo project? No. Huh. You see, I don't know even my own projects anymore because I have so many repositories on GitHub. The state tutorials, solo projects, rocket control, hacker hash node, explained website, tutorials, blog. Neumorphic, Flutter weather. Was it this one? No, this was before, so it needs to be later. SpinKit, Quizlet, Xylophone, Magic 8 Ball, Flutter Translate, Travel to Do. Here I think this is it. No, also not, unfortunate. Is it this one? Yeah, exactly. So here you can see also a project from me that I had done last year or something. And as you can see, I had added also a lot of documentation, how you can install, for example, the Dart SDK, how you can install Dart, how you install Flutter, also with the link to it. Also get how you can start with the web dev package, because I wanted to work the first time with Flutter Web there. And I had also some documentation how you get that. And if you check it out, I had also a scripts folder. For example, the database migration, the deployment process, and how I can start everything up on the server side, on local side. And because I had a Windows machine in that case, I created a PS1 file, which stands for PowerShell, which is fantastic if you have stuff like that. Oh, look at that, there's my old account still running. Okay, but still, let's have a look. Does here do anything? Oh geez, 35%. That will really take a while. So maybe I can jump into the contribution part and we take a look what we have else to do beside of setting up the engine development. There comes the setting up the framework development environment, which I also open up. Just have an eye on it. So and as you can see, there is a whole bunch of different dependencies for that, like SSH again, Pyten is there, Android platform tools, which is important, and how you can install them with brew cask Android platform tools. And I think I should have them already because I have already the SDK installed. Same thing for the ADB. So we should be ready for that. The only thing is there needs to be a clone, I think, somewhere. Yeah, so this part is also here. I will not do that parallel because my computer is already harshly running on that one. So I think that is for now okay. But let's talk about tree hygiene. What is tree hygiene? So how to land a PR. And this is our final goal. So if I don't know if I manage it today, but if I work more and more with Flutter, maybe in the next live stream or something, I would really land a PR inside of the Flutter project. Even if we just change a documentation part with you guys together, or that we develop something together, or we fix a bug or something like that. This is my ultimate goal, to fix a PR here. So good. Exactly, and so now this page explains us how we can do that. For guidance on designing APIs, documentation, and formatting your code, see the style guide. So this is most important here, I think. But then we're coming to general things. So first, we have to fork the repository on GitHub, which we have done, right? So we are already on that. If there is not already an issue covering the work you are interested in doing, and if you think the work you are doing is likely to be non-trivial effort, which means more than an hour, I think. So you are creating a new widget or otherwise introducing a new API surface, or intend to make a potential breaking change, or refactoring a library, then file a new bug and describe the issue you are addressing. If the work you are doing is likely to be non-trivial, Flutter's breaking change policy is pretty good. You will also find a migration doc of material theme for a widget which is going on right now. Find a migration doc of material theme. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I know that the breaking change policy is pretty good. I'm really looking forward to have the first time like a major upgrade. So if I have already a release outside and I get like version 1.18, I don't know how it was from 1.16 to 1.17, but from 1.17 to 1.18, I'm really looking forward to see how the upgrade policy will work, because I'm coming from an Android from an Angular background, and also the Angular background was fantastic. So if you're coming from Angular 1.17 or something and upgrade something, it was fantastic. It worked like very smooth, and I really like that. And I see right now I have even a chat box. I didn't even see that. Welcome back, Coding Stark, and thank you, Ayush, for your input. That is fantastic. Can you send? You can't send the material part. Ayush, can I get your Twitter handle? Maybe you can send me it on Twitter, the two documentations. Maybe I didn't have found them yet. Because I think the links here in my chat are blocked somehow, and I don't know how to fix that. Okay. So, go in the issues. All right, let's go into the issues. Guide me. So let's check it out. We are on the Flutter repository. We go on issues. And what do we have to search for? Material theme. All right. Oh, I'm sorting that by the thumbs up. Maybe we are easier with that. Okay. Author Hans Müller. Updating the material buttons and their theme, removing accent color, extra padding. So I'm assuming you take the first one, right? To address the many problems that we have reported about the material theme system, and in particular the button classes and their theme, we have made some long-term plans for improving them. Fantastic. So you can see they are linked already to a pull request. I can see that this is part of the material design framework, and this is a proposal, so it is not necessarily taken yet. And we have here the two links, material theme system update and updating the material buttons and their themes. And there are breaking changes. Ooh, all right. So if someone doesn't know what a breaking change is, if you are having multiple versions of something and you have a big, and you upgrade now the version from, for example, 1.17 to 1.18, then some of the things don't work anymore. And sometimes they are working by doing them deprecated and they will delete it by another version. And sometimes they are breaking, so they are changes that are necessary, and for the next version they will not work anymore. Okay, wow. So first of all, it's documentation of the Google framework, which is always fantastic to read, because these are, I am thinking, you can change them also together, right? You can have suggestions and make these suggestions, and someone can change them then later. And what I will do now is I will share them in the chat. So if you want to join in, you can do that. Or better, I will just link the issue. I think that would be something helpful here. Voila. Because somehow I can chat links here. But as you can see, we get the material theme system updates and Hans Müller, which is also on the document right now. I thought I saw him seconds ago. Oh, is he? Ah, for the Flutter team. All right. That's impressive. So you can see he's the author of the whole thing. We get a link to it. The last update is in January. And now we can read all the changes that have been made. And the cool thing about something like that, such an open documentation, is just that we can see all the changes that will take in place and how we can use that. So in late 2015, so as you can see, we get an overview. What is the problem that we try to solve? Component theme normalization. The overall goal of the project is to normalize the definitions of all the existing component themes and to add new normalized component themes for components that don't already have them. How did we get here? In late 2015, the theme data class has 5 named parameters and 15 properties. There was no overall growth plan. Oh, really? Just 15 properties? I think this is more today. I think button 1, button color, button background color, button theme even, I think. Okay, so we can see that this theme data was pretty small, and I think that looks today a bit different. Now, about 4 years later, the theme data has 64 named parameters and 62 properties. That means we have over 120 different values that we can push into this theme data. And this is usually not a good idea. 13 are generic values. They appear to apply to all widgets, for example, focus color and hover color. Oh, that's fantastic to see in the future, I think. So you can see all the people are giving replies. You can read all through them. You can have more information about them. I like it that they also link it to the Material.io page. If you don't know Material.io, this is actually where the standard for the design comes from. So Material.io. If you are a designer, you will know this website for sure. Because here are all the guidelines, all the components, the icons, the usabilities, why you should use which component and which support, the iconography, how you should line up your icons if you work in the design pattern of material, and so on and so forth. I liked it very much, and I often announce that to my customers, because I always think there is already a lot in development lifecycle that we have to care about. If we also start to design everything ourselves, it is getting very expensive, usually. Okay, and the other thing is the update the material buttons and their themes. So all the buttons will also take more information to that. Is there anything that I should highlight, Ayush? Do you have something in your mind that I should highlight in that document still? We have the outline button, what's being left behind, button widgets. The new class outlined in this document leave behind a considerable swath of existing API. The old API will eventually be deprecated but will not change. Button widget. Existing buttons like flat button, raise button, and outline button classes have a cloud of color, elevation, and other constructor parameters that enable on the configure their appearance. This proposal introduces new replacement button classes: text button, contained button, and outline button. Absolutely, thank you for sharing this. Really, I was never, I thought I have seen a proposal already, but the proposal was about something else. I think it was about, it was a huge document. I think it was crazy, and I don't know anymore, but yeah. it's just cool that they do everything in Google Docs, so you can read all through that. And these are the publicly shared documents, and I really would love to see also one that is internal from Google, just to see how they work inside. But I think it will not change too much. Okay, so how is my terminal going? Okay, it tells me 100%, but there is still some jobs going in behind, so I wait still. In the meantime, we can talk a bit more about tree hygiene. So exactly, here we have been, right? If there is a new bug, describe the issue, and we are and addressing it. If the work you are doing is likely non-trivial effort, see above, then discussion your design on the issue. You may find it useful to create a Google Doc to solicit feedback. So they propose, if you have a very big issue that you want to change and you want to work on that, then you maybe should create a Google Doc document to give feedback, to get feedback from other people. And there is also a template. Oh, this is pretty cool. I didn't know that. So there is already a document tool that we can use and that we can improve all the things. So people have the opportunity to give us some information about it. So there is already a template, and if you need like an example, you can find them here in the links that we get from Ayush here. And that's pretty impressive, I think. There is everything that we need to really work with the Flutter team. I love that. Cool. You may wish to email the mailing list or discuss the topic in the chat channels. That makes sense. To more buy-in, you get the rest of the team, especially the relevant leads. The easier the rest of the process will be. You can put the label proposal on your issue to indicate that you have a design up for discussion in the issue. Okay, I think to add labels, you need to have already the, I think the higher level of trust of the Google and Flutter community. At least this is what I think, but that's fine. I think you can ask also in your PR, for example, for triage, by just adding an add triage, or yeah, just what I would do is most likely adding Taha, because I know he's very active in that area. If the work you are doing affects your private surface, such as modifying how to collect analytics, crash logs, or like, then please reach out to Google to discuss your changes. You will want to start a Google Doc to solicit feedback, okay? Who will be happy to loop in one of our engineers who explicit focus on privacy issues, so that they are able to give feedback on the work you plan to do. Okay. Create a branch of master on your GitHub fork. And this is very important. Create a branch of your master fork of the repository and implement your change. So you should not work on the master branch of your fork. Make sure it is tested. That sounds reasonable. Consider using code coverage tools to check that all your code is covered by tests. Okay. Everything must be tested. If you think your PR should be exempt from required tests, please contact Hixie for exemption. So that means you can get an, you don't have to write tests if you write Hixie is not the conclusion. It is more Hixie can give you the allowance to not push, to remove the tests, or he will help you to write the tests or something like that. Okay, so we have to follow the guidelines described in the style guide. Perfect. Files must not have trailing wait spaces. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And the analyzer must not report anything. Okay. C using dart analyzer. For the engine repository, C, C++, and Objective-C code should be formatted with Clang format. To be honest, I don't know even what Clang format is, so I'm searching for it. Is a tool to automatically format. Okay, so I think everyone who is working with C++, C, and Objective-C will know exactly what Clang is. And now I'm feeling a bit stupid. But what is it? It is Clang 11 documentation, okay. So it is just a code formatter at the end, I think, for C++, for this different C languages. There's a Vim integration, Emacs integration, Visual Studio integration, VS Code integration. Okay, so all the important parts, and I think ReSharper will be also part of that. Okay, before submission, so they also write, oh, look at that. I'm pretty sure that is part of the build tools. Oh, S Clang, cool. Yeah, kind of Dart FMT, yeah. So also Dart FMT is just a formatting tool for Dart. I have to close down here a little bit, this stuff. I think this can be gone. And why do I have so much open here? Cool. What is this? Ah, this is the Discord part. I'll keep that open for now. And this one can be closed for now. Cool. So what is the terminal saying? Still working. That's good. So you see this G-client sync is taking quite some time. I think we are now in 15 minutes. Is that right? Yeah, could be. So I think it is also heavily depending on your internet connection. So after we have done all that, so we have formatted our code properly, we have followed the test coverage, we have followed the templates, we improved everything, we have now an issue that we can work on. Then finally it's the time we have to we can submit this branch that we have as a PR to the relevant Flutter repository. Get your code reviewed, see below. You should probably reach out to relevant experts for the area you touched and ask them to review your PR directly. So this is very important. So that means it is your responsibility as a PR creator to find the experts in the relevant area. That means if I'm changing something in the engine and I'm not an expert in the engine yet, then you will find someone who is explicitly working in the engine part and you ask them to review your PR especially, and you ask them to work with you together so you can communicate with them and so on and so forth. But this doesn't mean you have to DM the people. It is already enough if you are doing that inside of a GitHub issue. I can show you maybe it's later, but you can just add them with an @ sign and giving the name behind. Maybe there are also some certain groups in the Flutter team that would be fantastic, that you can say something like @Flutter Engine or something like that. I don't know. It's just a thinking that I could imagine. So GitHub sometimes recommends specific reviewers. If you are not sure who to ask, that's probably a good start to start. So what this means is I will go now to a GitHub repository that I own, just to show you, for example, what we can do here. So I create a new issue and ASDF, for example. And if we make that @ sign, you can see I have here Mahtab, for example, in that area. So with this @ sign, I assign it to her in a chat message. But this is not really beautiful. The better way is to search at the assignees on the right side, and you see the different names here. And you will get some recommended people because they are working in a certain area, or someone who touched the file the last time or the last 10 times or something. And you will find these people here in this assignee. So you can assign the people, and as you see, they are on the side, and they will get now a message or something like that whenever you finish the PR to check this PR out, and they will get an information in their GitHub messages. So up here in the bell, they get a message like I do all the time from Aqueduct, for example. Okay. Wow, I'm telling a lot of stuff. I hope this is okay for you guys. I'm just cover everything what is with code and open source and so on that I know. So if I'm doing something wrong, always give me some hints. But I think this is what I understand. I think it's good that I also mention them to you. Okay, make sure your PR passes all pre-commit tests. Yeah, that makes sense. Consider running some of the post-commit tests locally. See device lab directory. If any tests break, especially the customer testing tests, please see the breaking changes policy section below the details on how to proceed. Okay. Wait for Cyrus to give green light before merging a PR. Cyrus runs a bunch of pre-commit checks. Okay, these checks include checks on comments. So make sure you wait for the green light, even if your patch is absolutely fine. So Cyrus is a tool, I think. I don't know, but I don't think it is a name, or I could imagine it is a CI/CD tool. No, here, Cyrus CI, yep. Make your development cycle fast, efficient, and secure with Cyrus CI. And CI makes all the tests in behind. and will show you if the errors and everything. So this, and as you can see, it has some impressive sponsors like Google, Flutter, and SonarSource. SonarSource is a pretty cool tool which allows to show errors and so on in your code, like what do you call them? Code dependency. No, that's code deaths. So if you make some errors, you lose to test and everything, SonarSource will help you with that. They have also a tool that called SonarCube, I think. I hope it is the same company. Yeah, it is. SonarLin, SonarCloud, and SonarCube. Love that. It's a pretty cool tool. I use that sometimes. It shows you a lot of stuff. But yeah, so we have a CI in place, which checks all the parts of Flutter, most likely run all the tests, and so on and so forth. The Flutter build test isn't checking your PR. It's letting you know whether the tree itself is passing the tests right now, including post-commit tests. If it is red, help out the team in fixing the tree before continuing. It is everybody's job to keep the tree clean. Oh, that is very important. So that means everyone who's contributing to Flutter has to try to keep the tree green. So that means whenever we have something pushed into the pipeline, no, sorry, into the master branch, for example, and the master branch CI is red, then everyone has the task, or everyone has the responsibility to work on this problem, to fix that somehow and to help the other people. Maybe someone is working already on that, or someone can't work alone on this problem to fix it. So it is everyone's jobs to fix this tree again. So if the trees or dashboards are showing any regressions, only fixes that improves the situation are allowed to go in. That means if the tree has a problem, then only fixes for this problem has to be inside, which makes a lot of sense, and I really love that this is once more concluded in this sentence. Once everything is green, you are ready to go and land your patch. I think LGTM is something like legitimate, but I'm not sure. And so it looks good to me. Okay. So the perfect GIF for it. Okay. Looks good to me. All right. Thank you, Ayush. Cool. So let's watch the post commit tests on the dashboard to make sure everything passes. Is there somewhere a link to the dashboard? I don't know. If anything goes wrong, revert your patch and study the problem. You should aim to be one of the to revert your patch. You should aim to be the one who reverting your patch. Okay. You will be racing everyone else on the team who will also try and revert your patch. Okay. So if you merge something and it is fatality go wrong, something is red, right? Then it is or you should try to revert your patch as soon as possible to get it out of the branch again, because you will have a race with everyone else who wants to fix that. Because as you have read beforehand, if it is red, everyone has the responsibility to fix it. So if you do something wrong, you merge it and you know you did it wrong, you should upgrade it again. That's fantastic trending. Or codes Hasnan Tai. Hasnan Tai? Sounds great. That's perfect. I hope this is something that you can learn from, because I think it is way easier to start with the Flutter GitHub repository. You heard about it once, and if you know that nobody will rip your head off if you do something wrong in it, because as long as you work in your own fork, you can do anyway everything that you want. And if you create a PR that is not looking good, I promise you nobody will flame you for doing some work that is maybe not used in the end. It is of course a waste of time, and it would be a shame if it is really not usable, but I think people like Hixie or people who are working in the framework are so kind to help you with that problems out. And I have never read something from the Flutter repository issues that this is completely wrong or something like that. So what I would like to do Is there something that I missed? No. Changes that breaks the plugin CI should as well be reverted while the problem is being studied. Okay, so when the plugins are not working anymore, that's bad. So the next thing is, what should I work on? And then using Git, getting a code review, who to review your code. So you see there are a lot of people, and oh, that's fantastic. There is also people who are reviewing your code. You remember that there was people who you should ask or you should search guidance to for that. So if you're changing something for iOS widgets, for example, Xter or at Xter is your man to go. Material widgets, we learned this guy already, Hans Muller. Then we have the Flutter Framework with Goda Bauer and so on and so forth. Exactly, this is what you should write into it. Get a lot of people together to solve problems. But if we take a look into the closed issues already, where I would like to have a bit more of a comments here. So I get this error, I can't resolve it, please help me. Very helpful headline, I have to say. And as you can see, most likely this is a bad example here. This doesn't seem to be a Flutter issue, rather an issue caused by pushing your code into a non-existent branch. Okay, so even there, that this is a really non-helpful issue here with that message. Someone takes his time, and I think, wow, Abhishek Upnanyu, I tried my best, tried to help him as good as he can, right? So you gave him some more information, and that the issue is now closed. Oh really, Ayush? That is fantastic. Then please send it to me, then I can link it also in that video, or maybe do it in the next time. Maybe we can go over your contribution block. That would be fantastic. And additionally, I think next week we have anyway again a Flutter news. Maybe we can announce it there, if it is good. Okay, so yeah. So don't be afraid of creating issues in the Flutter project. The worst thing that you get is please close your issue, or they close it for you. Okay, where have we been? So we have been here. We read all of these parts. So this was just the overview. And if you see, there is way more to go. Getting a code review. We recommend you consider the suggestion for addressing code reviews, who reviews your code, how to review your code, how to review code in general. So if someone else is committing something and you have the opportunity to review code, which is also a valid thing, right? So if we go to the pull requests, and as I said, I am not now someone who is the trust of the Google team, but if I would be, I could get into the comment line here and could give a comment. And I think even though that I'm not part of the Google team, I can give comments on different file changes. So if I think whatever he wrote here would be wrong, I could add here a comment and say something like, hey, please fix this with, and give the string that he has to fix with, and I can give starting a review. And that is pretty fantastic. And I will not do that right now. But if I would do that, he could get more information about it, and I can help more or less in other pull requests already. Yeah, sure, we can do that, trending. So we have that, we have this, and this is the Flutter repository. Cool. Take a step back. What is the problem the PR is trying to solve? Is it the best API? And so on and so forth. Landing a patch. So I would recommend, instead of just reading everything, which is really a lot, I'm being honest with you, I would now just go to the next part, because it's getting a bit too much just to understand everything of that. And I hope the style guide will get me covered how I can work further with that. Okay, so next part, style guide for Flutter repo. Contains some high-level philosophy, policy, decisions for Flutter project, and description of specific style issues for some parts of the code base. Describes the preferred style. What is my terminal doing? Hey, look at that. We are through. So Pyten has been done. Okay. The Dart tools uses Google Analytics to analyze a report. This is fine. We got some dependencies and now the engine is up and running. So that means if I'm going now into the folder for the engine, development and searching for engine, we have the source folder and we have everything here as a part. And that's pretty much everything that we need. And as you see, we have, for example, the build tools, and here is Clang inside already installed. So all that part is also part of it. It's already there. That is pretty fantastic. Another thing, I will open up that engine for now, just to see how it looks. Can I open up the source folder or should I open up the engine folder? Not sure. I will just open the source, the engine folder for now. And here we have now all the different parts like GPU, build, the Clang format. This is a file that that gives the configurations, like based on style Chromium and standard is CP11. We have a GN file. I have no idea what this is about. This is just for the build configurations. Okay, so we don't have to care about that too much. .landmines. Let's start a new landmines file. Okay, also never heard about. A Pyten extension, that sounds good. We have all the authors, build GN, search marketplace. So I just install some files and some extensions because GN syntax highlighting sounds good because we have these files in our repository now. So with that we get like highlighting and so on for it. We have the license once more and the README documentation. But we have not been finished, I think, for the engine, right? We just installed now the first part. So now here we have done this part and now we have to add the remote to the upstream repository. So we go inside of that with our terminal. I'll put that on the right a little bit, so I hope you can read it still. And inside of the engine, we go now to source Flutter. And this is now our Flutter repository. And we git remote add upstream to the Flutter engine. Okay, let's do that. So what's next? So that you fetch from master Flutter engine repository, not your clone, when running git fetch at all. Okay. Then we're going back in the file, cd ... return to source directory that gclient sync created in your engine directory. Okay, done that. So if you're on Mac, install Oracle Java JDK version 1.8. So how do I know if I have installed it already? Java version. What do we have? We have the Open JDK. I'm not sure if this is the same. But let's see if I can install Ant in the meantime. And let's see if we can use the Open JDK for that. Or if it has to be the Oracle one. I think the Open JDK is already pre-installed on a Mac, so you should not have to do there anything. Do you know that, Ayush, if you have to install the Oracle Java JDK? Or is it okay to have just the Open JDK? Okay, so what do we have here? So we have now the information how to compile the engine. This is the next step because we have the code now. In the meantime, we install Ant here. And there are some recommendations for editors. Okay, perfect. Then you see, we're learning both something. Okay, So, and there is like the Visual Studio for C, C++. I think that makes sense to install if we are working on the engine. I don't know if we are working on the engine yet, but it would be a possibility. So I want to do all of that. So what was the name of the extension again? Visual Studio with C++ extension. Go back, searching on the marketplace. And I think that will be this one. It's a preview here, but I hope the best. Okay, do we have anything else? A highly scalable language server that supports IDE. Okay, I don't need that. Android embedded in Java. Okay. Right, yeah, Java push. C query and derive are highly scalable C++ language server that supports IDEs, features like go to definition, call hierarchy, autocomplete. So it sounds like a resharper. They supports editors like VSC, blah blah blah. To set up, we can install Brew again. So this is a server, because what is important for us, if you remember in Flutter, for example, we all love, for example, that we can jump inside of the different packages. So let me check if I find somewhere a lib. Here we go. Give me some Dart code here. So if I want to jump, for example, version 2.8 is available. Okay, I don't care right now. The linter is not installed. We can do that. But if we have something and we want to jump inside the code, we can usually do that right away, right? So it doesn't work now in that case whatsoever. I think because it's not indexed yet. But actually, if you have something like part of Dart UI, you can normally jump into this code so that you find the relevant parts of it. And I think these cquery CCLS does exactly the same for the C, and Objective-C code. So brew installs cquery or brew installs CCLS. Build from source, generate a compile. I think that is too much for now because I don't really need that yet because I don't work actively with it. But I would install all these parts as soon as I find some code that I have to work with. I hope this is no mistake. Okay. But now let's jump into compiling the engine. How can we do that? So compiling for Android, iOS, macOS, or Linux. Okay. First, setting up the environment. We have done that. Depending on the platform you are making changes for, you may be interested in all or only some of the sections below. Aha, okay, so it highly depends on what I'm working on. So if I want to work, for example, for the Android framework, then I go here, for the iOS part here, and so on and so forth. Interesting enough, that means for everything. So if I want to work on the web part, for example, we have to build the engine for web. We use the Felt tool. Okay, what is Felt? Felt stands for Flutter Engine Local Tester. It's a CLI tool that aims to make development in Flutter Web Engine more productive and pleasant. Felt check licenses, Felt test, Felt build. Okay, but as you can see, everything that has to do with the engine is pretty deep. Yeah, you have to really take a technical leap of faith, more or less, to get all these parts done. But because I don't work at the moment so efficient, I would just say we leave that off for now. And if I need the specific area, then we come back to that and compile that part. Okay, but now let's talk about how to set up the framework. So make sure the dependencies are there. We have a macOS, that's good. Git is there, IDE. Oh, perfect. So we can work with the Android Studio in that case. Cool. You can use whatever IDE. Cool. SSH. Yep. Pyten we have. Android platform tools. I think I have them. I have installed them with Android Studio, most likely. Cask install. As I said, I think they should be there. you can also use the copy of the Android platform tools in. So you can see with the engine, we got nearly everything set up for us. So that means here in the engine, if we search for the source third-party Android tools, we find all the Android tooling. So that's why it took so long to install everything, because really everything is here. So what third-party? Okay. And as you see, Android tools, there is everything inside, even the SDK, the build tools, everything. That is crazy. That is so big. It's no cool. So run the following step to set up your environment. Ensure that ADB from Android is in your path. We can check that by terminal and say just ADB, or that which ADB prints sensible output. ADB not found. Okay, that's unlucky. So as I said, I think the ADB should be installed from Android Studio. So what I will do is open it up. The engine, that's a good question. I think it's tremendous. At least after the install time and everything. It's calculating. It's calculating. Okay, it's calculating really long. In the meantime, I open up my Android just for the ADB part. Android development. Preferences. I thought ADB. No. Huh, am I wrong with the ADB installed? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have the ADBs installed. But what I can do is I just add the ADB from the engine. Because it is tremendously big and has everything in place, we can just use that. So what I will do is we search for the Android tools ADB, right? So if I check against the... So it is 12 GB of disk space. So it is really, really big. Okay. So inside of the engine source third party, we should have the ADB, right? So if I'm searching for Android tools, the platform tools, we have the ADB here in that part. Yeah, I run the code, but ADB brings nothing. So I think I don't have it installed. So what I will do is doing the same thing like the last time, because we want to have it in the path. And now the question for you guys, do you know an easy way to get this here in a right path way? I think that should be part of the terminal, I think. Or if I'm here and going to third party, ls, what was it? Android tools. Oops. ls, and we go to the SDK. And platform tools, cd platform tools. We have the ADB here. And now I would like to get the path. Yeah. Terminal get path of file. Let's see if I get something. PWD. Ah, yeah, right. Of course. So now everything starting from here, I think I can take, because that is home, right? So we take this and we're going again to our commander 1, searching for the invisible files in our home directory, going to the sets srhrs and export the same thing like here. So path export path equals to this path, but important to know, not any path. We want to go to home. Export tools and save. Do I have to make a backslash at the end? I think so. And of course adding the path location at the end. Cool. So with that, if I save that and I restart our terminal, I don't even know if I have to restart the terminal. Yeah, I have to. Cool. Terminal. And now if I'm executing ADB, we can see we have now the tooling in place. So here we have ensured that the ADB is there. That's good. fork the Flutter project into your own GitHub account. We have done that. With SSH key, that's known, we have done that. We cloned it already, yep. cd flutter. Git remote add upstream, I think we did that in the previous part. Add the repository's bin directory to your path, okay. So now it's getting interesting because I have most certainly a different Flutter project in my path at the moment, but they recommend me that I take now the Git Flutter path from my own folder. And why is that so? Because if we change something, we want to check that maybe with our Flutter repository. And so we want to use not to use the default installed version that we have on our system. We want to use the version that is here. Cool. So ls, we are in development, searching for Flutter. And here inside, we want to get the bin folder and pwd. And we get all of that part. Going back to our commander1, open up that file. Oh, you don't require it? Is it just to change the different channels? Because at the moment I have I use the tools Flutter bin, so I'm working, but it's also cloned, I think, but I don't want to work in that. I think that is the issue. So if I'm going here and I'm going to tools, we have the Flutter installed, but I would not require that. Ah, you're right, that's true. But I have to do it for Visual Studio Code, or most likely. So in Android Studio, if we have, for example, the Flutter project open, close it off, and we can go to the preferences. And if we search here for Flutter, then we have here down the language as a framework, and up here we have the SDK path. And that we can change now. This is the main file path, but we can change that to development Flutter, I think. The only thing that we have to think about if we do it this way, that if as soon as we open up a terminal and working in there, it will not work like that. Or it's not found. Ah, is it this part? The Flutter SDK installation is incomplete. Ah, maybe I have to run cd bin flutter doctor. Yeah. Okay, so most likely it installs first something. No? Ah, here we go. So I needed to start the Flutter Doctor of this project just to install all the dependencies that it's necessary. And now I can use them in Android Studio. But still, if I'm opening up a terminal, it would not work like that because Flutter is not a command then. Or better, we use the other version that we have installed somewhere else. Whew. Cool, that is working. That's upgrading. Here we are. So what would be the next thing? So we could check if this is in the path, that's fine. Run Flutter update packages. This will fetch all the Dart packages that Flutter depends on. If version solving failed, try git fetch upstream to update Flutter versions before Flutter update packages. Okay. I'm not sure if this is now right what I'm doing. Or? Because I get now... I have now master installed here, right? In that directory, because I cloned the master channel. Well, let's see what the Flutter Doctor is spitting out, because Flutter Doctor from the master channel should give me also the information that I'm on master. Let's see. I hope just that it's not too boring that a beginner in the Flutter framework shows off his live stream here. Ah, perfect. So you can see that is fantastic, because if I'm executing now point flutter in this directory where we are right now, and say asking for the channel, for example, we get master and even more information, but we are on master. And if I'm searching and I don't make the dot in front of it, like Flutter Doctor, which makes not so much sense, but here we can see that I'm currently on Flutter channel stable. So that means we have now two different versions that we have to keep in mind, that one of them is working with the Flutter changes that I'm doing locally, and the other one is just the basic Flutter library that we use all the day. Okay, but now we should execute Flutter update packages. If version solving failed, try git fetch upstream. Okay, no, we don't do that. Inside of here, we execute again Flutter, and I think we're going one level up. Execute in bin Flutter, and inside here update packages. And as you see, inside of the different folders, he goes now into snippets, into bots, and makes everywhere most likely Flutter pub-get. Ah, yeah, here, Flutter pub-get. Ooh. If you plan using IntelliJ as your IDE, then run Flutter IDE config override to create all of the IntelliJ's configuration files so you can open the main Flutter directory as a project and run examples from within the IDE. Is IntelliJ now, I don't know if there is a community part, JetBrains, IntelliJ. I thought there is a community version that we can use for open source projects, but I'm not absolutely sure. Indeed, there is free and open source, but I'm not sure if it's working with Dart. Swagger, TypeScript, died. Here's nothing. I will try that the next time when I'm done. I think I can download that already, because I'm a very big fan of IntelliJ, as you can see, and JetBrains and everything. So I would love to work with that IDE for bigger projects, and especially for Android Studio. It will work? Really? Oh, cool. That's fantastic. Then I will really execute that also in that directory, just to make sure that I'm ready to go. Wow. That is a lot of stuff to get gathered. So Gen, key codes, tooling, UI, Android views, all that stuff. Then I close off the Android Studio for that. Text editor can go. I think the terminal should be there. Discord can go closed. Cool. So, what time is it actually? Oh, 2 hours and 12 minutes already. Let's see if my uptime chat is working finally. I had there some struggles the last time. Oops. Sign into chat. I want to go into chat. Here we are. Uptime. Because then I will make a short break later, maybe in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Because this afternoon we have the Safe Recipe Safe Recipe app development with Mahtab and me together, where we work again on a Flutter project, where we add some nice little UIs together. Okay, so you would recommend to put just get the different parts. Oh, Fuxio parts is also part of it. Cool. Yeah, I can understand that. I just because I can do it, I did that now like this, but I think that's fine for now. Okay, so we have now everything, and I'm pretty sure that's nearly everything. Or we just want to execute that IDE config, which I want to do right now. And then all the projects should be green, I think. So it's now up to date. It is prudent to restart IntelliJ if running. Okay, cool. So I can exit my terminal now. And if I installed in the meantime the community version, failed to install, another action is running in the same channel. Ah, yeah, it's downloading. Okay. Just 10 seconds left, and then we can open up the IntelliJ. And I have long time not worked with IntelliJ, so I'm really excited about that. Failed to extract package, failed to find target to extract. What? Okay, weird things are happening. That's this. No, that's all good. I'm trying just to click it again. Let's see if it happens. Now it's downloading it. Okay, this is nothing for today. But what can I do? I think for IntelliJ it will not work if I'm opening it up with Android Studio. That's a shame. But the cool thing is now all the examples are running here, right? And everything. So they are all part of that. That's pretty cool. I like that. To see if your setup works, yeah, let's run an example. I think that would be the easiest way. So we go into an Hello World example and then just Flutter run. Let's see if we can do that in the end, so that we have done something today, that we achieved something together. So go to Flutter, we go into the examples folder, voila. And here inside we can just go for Hello World and Flutter run. The Flutter tool are currently running in a then the one, yes, sorry. That's not what I have to do. I have to go some levels up, going to bin Flutter, and now I have to say run. Because as I said, I have to execute the one that is inside of the, from the repository, not the one that I have locally installed. And as you see now, because I am in this example, it downloads now the parts that are missing still. So for example, the web SDK and all the different parts. I think they would also be executed with Flutter run. And I think it is D and Mac OS I will take for that. Because it is the fastest, I think, and also the most performant that it runs on the plate. No macOS .provider configured. Okay, that's unfortunate. Then let's take, I think Chrome will also not work, or let's have a look. So this is iOS. I see a web. So web will work. So let's go for Chrome. And if this is not working, then you could still make Flutter create and a dot at the end. Then it will install you the necessary macOS folder. And I'm pretty sure the Hello World will work. And here we are. What do we see? A Hello World widget. And that's it. It's the desktop. Yeah, true. That is just the alpha version, right? So we have to enable. But I think it is enabled, right? Because we got that as a device here, macOS desktop. Or we can check that by executing the config. And as you see, the config, because they are global configs, they are took from my changes in the master part that I had already. So both of them are true. But if I wanted to have the macOS part, I have to, that's wrong. I have to execute create dot. And what do we get? Cannot create a project within the Flutter SDK. Okay, that makes so much sense. Perfect, but look at that. How generous the Flutter team has already prevented me to make a mistake, right? So I am not even allowed to do something like that. But to be honest, it's very interesting how I can create now my macOS folder for that. If I wanted to, for example, give an example how it works on macOS. To change that, I have to create it in another place, extract that example part, create the macOS folder and put it then here inside. But maybe this is not even wished, so it is interesting. Okay, so this is that. The Flutter tools to learn Flutter command line. Cool. We could start it in Chrome. Everything is working. Our project is set up. Actually, we could start working on that. And I think the IntelliJ is also installed now. So what I will do is just as a last action for today, or for now, I want to start up the folder. That is fine. I don't need anything here. Scala Key Promoter X is a fantastic tool which I will install. It will help you to learn new keyboard shortcuts so that you don't click so much. Okay, and of course we have to install some plugins like Dart and Flutter. Here we go. Oops, accept. And restart the IDE. Restart. And now we can open up our project. And I really hope that everything is set up and configured correctly so we would be able to work the next time directly on that project, which I really would love to see. I'm also looking forward to work more on the engine. It's just, for today, I think it's getting too high to work on everything. But I'm pretty sure that I want to go further and more in deep dive of that, because I think it is the most intimidating to start with the bigger ones and the complicated ones. But if you have figured that one out, you can really talk with that stuff. And I think that would be fantastic to bring that in our community, to show them that even someone like me, who is really a front-end developer in the first place, can start to work in that deeper levels of Flutter at the end and create pull requests and work with the team together. And I think that is the most important part here, that we start to communicate and that we work and that nobody has fear that he makes something wrong in these different frameworks, right? So let's search for fonts, because as always, I don't like that JetBrains mono. Let's go to media Fira code 18, enable font languages. I just do that because the next time I want to get ready and don't want to waste too much time in starting up everything. So you can read everything. Is 18 enough? I think for the editor it could be a bit bigger. Where is it? Font, here we go. Let's say 20 or 22. Yeah, here we go. Cool. But thank you so much for joining. It was a fantastic session. Thank you, Ayush, for your help. Helped a lot. Thank you, everyone else. Trending was great to have you here, and all the others. I really hope you took something from that session and it helped you to improve your Flutter knowledge and Flutter GitHub repository knowledge. I really will take this part further, so we will have more sessions about the GitHub repository. And now that we have checked out everything correctly and we can start working, maybe we can fix an issue together. That would be fantastic. Then we have also the Git reviewers, the repository pull request reviews directly in the chat. So if I create a pull request, all of you have the opportunity to directly give me your feedback. Okay, it was a fantastic session. See you the next time. Till this afternoon, I hope. See ya, guys.